All right, today on the Power Hour, we welcome back certified life coach Laura Kistner, a trusted guide helping women arise out of burnout and step into clarity, strength, and emotional freedom. Laura, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me. It's really fun to be back.
Yes, let's dive right into it. Uh, since the last time you joined us, how has your work with women facing burnout evolved?
You know, the thing that I have realized with burnout is that most of us go through it
Right.
at some point in our life, especially as women. And what I've realized is that with women, the more you have on your plate, the more high achieving you are. If you're a mother, like the more roles that you have, burnout is so much more likely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it can sneak up on you. It's kind of a sneaky thing.
yeah. Now, what are some of the signs? Because people may not even realize that they're in burnout.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing about burnout is that stress and anxiety are a part of life. We all experience it. We can't escape it. But what burnout is when I struggle to say when you let, but really you are in control of this. When you let the stress and the anxiety pile up to the point where you are just completely exhausted. The signs are, you're more irritable, you're forgetful, you have loss of motivation, you have difficulty concentrating. For me, one telltale sign that I'm reaching burnout is I will go to a room in my house and I will get there and I will be completely lost. Like, why did I come to this
Wow.
room? What was I looking for? And that
Yeah.
that is when I know, okay, Laura, we need to take a step back and we need to slow down a little
That
bit.
definitely happens to me quite a few times. You
Yes,
get up and
yes,
go somewhere in the house, like you said, and you're like, okay, why did I come in here? You know. Now,
yes.
what moment in your own life made you realize burnout was something women desperately needed help understanding?
Well, for me, I am there's two things about me that really set me up for burnout. And number one is I was a people pleaser. I never said no to anyone. I was always doing for everyone else. And number two, when I had children, I really became like the martyr. I felt like the more I gave to my children, the more I gave up of what I needed, the better mother I was. So I stopped exercising, I stopped getting my hair done, I stopped hanging out with friends. I would text them and that was about it. Everything was about being a mother and giving up who I was to be everything that I could for them. And what happened was is I burned myself out. I got to the point where I was so insanely exhausted and I had no motivation for life in general. And really what made me look at myself was the fact that I started getting a lot of pain in my stomach and I
Mm,
couldn't figure out why. I went to specialists, I got tests done, and no one could give me an answer. And finally, I went to a specialist that was highly recommended, and he did his exam for a few minutes, looked at my MRI, sat me down, and he said, "Laura, it's stress."
yeah.
And I will say this about burnout. In that moment, I was angry
Mm,
because I was trying so hard to be everything for everyone else. And so it felt like I was failing when he
mm,
said that to me. But the truth is, with burnout, it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you've been strong for so long that
mm,
you can't keep continuing at that level. You need to give yourself a break.
yeah, definitely.
And
Now, how fragile is the line between burnout and, let's say, depression?
so with burnout, if you let it continue long enough, it can definitely develop into depression. So if you get to that point, so burnout can be more it's more associated with, maybe it's your job that's burning you out. Maybe it's your caregiving for your children or for an elderly parent, something like that. Whereas depression is just that overall encompassing, feeling of, just exhaustion and feeling depressed. And so if you get to that point, definitely seek medical help, therapist, a psychologist. But with burnout, if you're just simply in burnout, there's things you can do before it gets to that point
Right.
to start to overcome that burnout.
Typically, it'll be like self care, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So like I had said with, people pleasing, I like to call myself a recovering people pleaser because what we get to do with people pleasing is we get to realize that we get to set boundaries. You don't have to say yes to everything to everyone. If you have, and this is how I like to tell my clients to think about it. If someone asks you to do something and you immediately have the energy of I don't want to, and you say yes because you feel like you
Mm,
should, is ask yourself, why do I feel like I should? What is making me think that I should do that? Because we don't have to say yes to everything. We can
no,
say, no, thank you. That's not going to work for me. And when you say no to the things that don't feel good to you, that you know are going to take your energy, it can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're a people pleaser, but it can also feel so empowering at the same
absolutely.
time. When you say no, to something that doesn't feel good to you, you also say yes to yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. You always follow your first mind anyway. Like you said, if you feel like you shouldn't do it from the very start, the very beginning of the question, don't do it.
Exactly. Follow
Don't
that
do
intuition.
it. Absolutely. From your perspective, what makes burnout today feel different or more intense than it did years ago?
I honestly think it's technology, it's social media, it's the fact that we are always accessible all the time and everything has to be done yesterday. So it's just this environment of go, 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 go. Even for my children's school, I think I have 6 different apps on my phone for different things for their school that I have to keep track of. And it's so overwhelming,
Yeah,
and with that, on top of that, we also, I think as a society, we've forgotten how to relax and truly connect with ourselves. We've forgotten how to be bored. Instead of letting ourselves just sit and be with ourselves, we are constantly scrolling on social media, turning on the TV, checking our emails, listening to music. And so I often like to ask people, when is the last time you just sat with yourself, even for a few minutes with no distractions? And can you even do that? Because we're so used to being stimulated that we don't allow ourselves that time to step back and just be. And that is when we connect to our intuition and to our higher self. And we don't give ourselves that time to do that anymore.
absolutely not. Like you said, there's too many distractions. If it's not
Mhm.
social media, it's just things around you.
Yeah,
Just things around. Now, can burnout show up in ways that does not look stressful?
that
No, when
is
we
a good.
yeah, when we say burnout, the first thing we
Yeah.
think is, "Oh, I'm stressed. I'm this, I'm that." But can it show up in a way that doesn't look stressful?
Yeah, because and that's a great question to ask because for me, when I experienced my burnout, I would say it was more so this just extreme, extreme exhaustion. I was
Mm,
just so tired. So it wasn't necessarily like I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. It was
right.
just like I just want to lay down and sleep for 24 hours. And it was stress as well, but that was my biggest thing. It was, I think my 2 biggest things were the exhaustion and just the lack of motivation.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Now, how does long-term burnout change the way women think, react, and show up in their daily lives?
When you have been burned out for a long time, I like to describe it like this, like we are all a bomb and we have got a fuse. And the shorter your fuse, the more likely you are to explode. So when you've been living in a state of burnout for a very long time, your fuse has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. So the simplest things are going to set you off. They're going to cause you to cry, they're going to cause you to yell, and it's going to be the simplest things that you're going to say, why can't I handle this? Why is this making me so frustrated or upset or that's a telltale sign that you've been burnout for a while.
Mm. Let's talk about shifting and getting to the recovery side, the other side of burnout. What's one mindset shift that uh, immediately helps women step out of feeling overwhelmed and burned out?
First of all, I think the biggest thing is allowing yourself to admit that you are in burnout or even
Mm,
close to it with the knowing that it doesn't make you weak. It
mm,
actually makes you strong. When you can recognize it and say, "Hey, I get to start doing something for me now because this has gone too far." That is a moment to celebrate yourself because it's not that sometimes we think of burnout always as you're just doing too much. But here's the biggest thing about burnout. This was something that really resonated with me. Burnout is also doing too much of what you don't want to do and not doing enough of what you do want. And so, for women that are experiencing burnout, what I want you to ask yourself is, what is one simple thing that I can welcome back into my life that is just for me, that will feel good, that will help me connect to myself, and that will give me energy? So, for me, when I was going through it, the first step I took was to start exercising again, because for me, that's my stress relief.
Oh my gosh.
Obviously exercise is so good for us in so many ways, but that was the biggest thing. It was my stress reliever. And so when I had children, I stopped working out. I didn't have the time, but when I stopped telling myself that story and said, I'm going to make the time, and I
Mm,
started to exercise again, that was huge for me. But it can even be something as simple as, I like to call them, micro moments, just little moments in your day. Just as something as simple as your morning coffee. Instead of just drinking it and checking emails and doing other things, give yourself 5 minutes. Wake up
mm,
5 minutes earlier to sit with your cup of coffee and just appreciate your cup of coffee.
mm.
And it can
Absolutely.
start to shift your energy.
Absolutely. Now, how can women rebuild confidence after burnout has chipped away at their sense of self?
Yeah. One thing, when you set boundaries, is that you will be amazed. I think I kind of said this already, but you will be amazed when you set a boundary for yourself and you keep that boundary, you honor that boundary. It will be amazing how much you start to feel empowered and how much more connection you will feel with yourself. So I will say, setting that boundary is huge, and making that time for yourself for whatever it is going to start to shift your energy. And I think a lot of times we think, I have to do something big. Like, I'm in burnout, I have to do something big. Actually, it's the little small changes that you're making in your day that are going to start to shift that energy for you. The small things are actually the big things.
Yeah. And let's talk about the circle, the people around you. How can they help in that moment when you're feeling overwhelmed and burned down?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's such a great point, because when you have those people in your life that you truly trust, that you can be your true self around, be honest with them. Let them know when you're feeling this. Because what I found is, when I finally started being honest, the people that I reached out to, a lot of them were feeling the same way. So not only were we able to just kind of have that moment of connection with each other, but we were given permission to be human and to feel this way. And so it's a really beautiful way to reach out, really, to give and receive at the same time.
Mm,
And with that being said, a lot of people that are going through burnout, we've got a lot on our plate. Well, there's some people in your life that don't have that much on their plate. They would like to help you. They want something to do. They want someone to help. And so when you ask for that help, you're actually giving to them as well, because you're letting them know, hey, you are important. You can help. You are needed. And so that's a really beautiful way. And just a great example of that is, if you have small children and there's people in your life that have offered to help, drive your child to their appointment
mm,
or watch them for the night for you so you can have a night off. They're offering that because that's probably something that they want in their life. And so they're giving you a gift, and you are giving them a gift by allowing them to help you.
yeah, the simple things matter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, for people who are watching this and saying, "Well, that was me. I was once feeling that way. I was burnt out and overwhelmed, and I pushed through." How can they protect their progress?
Yeah. So that's such a great point, because with burnout, it's not something where it's like you experience it once and you're over it and you move on. It's something that we can experience over and over again. So when you have those moments, so for example, when I go to a room and I get there and I think, why did I come here? I can't remember. When you have those moments, don't guilt or shame yourself. It's not, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten over this yet. It's progress over perfection. So when you have those moments, you say to yourself, I'm proud of myself. I'm recognizing I'm reaching burnout right now. And now I can use one of my strategies. I can start to make more time for me. I can go to that yoga class tomorrow morning. Whatever it is you need for yourself, you can start taking action to get out of that burnout. So it's really about taking back your power. It's not about being perfect. It's about recognizing when you need to start making those shifts to honor your wants and needs.
And finally, what's one reminder you want every woman listening to carry with her today?
I would like you to know that when you take care of you, you show up so much better for everyone else in your life. I was so convinced that I had to be the martyr. I had to give up all of my wants and needs to make everyone else happy, but I was showing up half alive. And so when you are showing up as that higher version of you that feels energized, you're going to show up as that best version of you for everyone else. So I just want you to know that you matter. Your needs and wants matter. And when you honor them, you honor yourself and everyone else around you.
There you go, Laura Kistner. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's always a pleasure. We must do this again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're watching the Power Hour.